you are, because I think right now, I mean, we have some other guests on the line, but they're regular guests. Alex Rottenberry from Raleigh. Alex is part of the Department of Transportation. Larry is with our video audio group. So we always appreciate them attending and listening in. But Ryan, you're our new guest today.
No pressure. Well, first off, I need to preface I'm autistic. So if you see me buffer a little bit, I'm just a little slow sometimes. So my name's Ryan. I've been a regular downtown commuter, or living in downtown for the last 9 years about. I originally came to downtown because I was a photographer of abandoned buildings back during the renovations. I actually was friends with Michelle McCullough and all that, but tangent. I have been an e-bike commuter exclusively. I sold my car about 5 years ago, and I've been getting more and more into alternative commuting, getting people to consider anything that ain't a car. I'm not against cars, but just questioning forced car dependency. And I've been working with Hal over at Triad Eco Adventures. I'm their e-bike mechanic over there. I am developing a business called Alternative Commuting that is made to assist people in lower socioeconomic tiers to get them access to e-bikes and other things to get them out of the car debt cycle. And basically just making it easier for people to question their commute. And that's the general summary of me. I think I hit everything. I don't want to talk for too long.
Well, you sound kind of perfect for our committee. That sounds awesome. So you say you have submitted an application?
I believe so. The site, it's made it sound like I needed to also print it and deliver it to the mayor's office, but I submitted it and then it told me to do that, so I'm not sure.
It's, to be honest with you, it's not a bad idea. My experience is, my personal experience is that I had to submit the application 3 times, and the third time was a printed copy, hand delivered, because for some reason, I don't know, my computer wouldn't talk to the city's computer. I'm not sure. Some people don't have any problems, but I did. And I found out that one of the applicants that I was recommending, also her application did not go through. So yeah, it is always a good thing to follow up with that paper for this system for some reason. Yeah,
they're like 2 blocks away. I'm an innovation coordinator. I'm the IT guy for Atrium Wake Forest. So the downtown location. So I'm in there. Yeah.
Oh, very good. One of our other members works in Innovation Quarter, Latrissa Caesar Howard. So she's not here today. Hopefully she'll come. I texted her, but have not heard back from her. Anyway, thanks to everyone who came today. Wow, I'm disappointed that we won't hit quorum today. So let's just do some updates. Since we can't really approve anything, we're going to have to postpone the minutes until the October meeting so that we can get quorum to approve those. And let me pause there. Did anyone see any revisions that we can make between now and the next meeting to get those corrected? So
I thought they were very good as usual.
Thank you, Greg.
Almost like I was at the meeting. It almost reads verbatim.
You were not.
It almost reads verbatim. That's how good it is.
Yeah, I thought they were very good as well. Thank you, Ben, for that. I guess the question would be, do we want to talk about the leading pedestrian intervals today? Alex is here and ready to go. So it's a small group that he would be presenting to. I'm very interested in it, but should we wait until we have a larger group?
I think right now works because Alex said he had to run to another meeting. So I think right now would be perfect.
Okay. All right. Alex, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Also, Greg, I like your shirt.
Thank you.
I'm sitting in Union Station right now.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so I talked to Ben. And he had kind of expressed you guys had some interest in learning more about leading pedestrian intervals and what they are and when we want to identify a location they could be implemented. So if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to actually share the screen with you guys. And we have some documentation from the Federal Highway Administration just kind of detailing what leading pedestrian intervals are. And I think it kind of does a good job of kind of detailing that. So can everyone see my screen here?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. So, leading pedestrian intervals, what they are is a timing measure in signalized pedestrian crossings that can help reduce conflicts between pedestrians and vehicles, predominantly conflicts between left turn movements and pedestrian crossings. But the main point of it is to improve visibility of pedestrians that are in the crosswalk. What it does is it gives at a minimum a 3-second head start time allocation to pedestrians crossing in the crosswalk so that they can be established in the crosswalk before vehicles get a green indication. So that does two things. One, like it gives just a few extra seconds to pedestrians to actually cross the crosswalk, and also it allows them to be more kind of established in the crossing to let vehicles know there is someone crossing here. So please, yield to pedestrian traffic, or don't proceed yet until you see the crosswalk clear. So moving down, this obviously I can send this information to everybody too. So typically, here's kind of what I'm going to share everybody. Whenever we're selecting a site for leading pedestrian intervals, a lot of times what we'll use is crash history, pedestrian crossing volumes, how many pedestrians typically cross there, and then if there's any vulnerable populations in that area that maybe, let's say, somebody who has any kind of disability that may not allow them to cross the crosswalk as quickly as others, one-way streets and turning T intersections, and then if there's any intersection visibility issues. So all those are normally criteria we look for. We're trying to identify which crosswalks may be candidates for leading pedestrian intervals. And I'll say this, of all the things we normally add improvements to intersections or look for other kind of upgrade measures, this is one of the easiest ones to kind of get implemented in a lot of locations. Normally, just given the criteria, it's most signalized crosswalks in busy intersections will probably meet I'm not gonna say all, I mean, there supposed to be some cases, but most will probably meet warrants to implement leading pedestrian intervals. So does anybody have any questions about that?
Yes, I do. You said 3 to 7 seconds. I read something with the North Carolina Highway Safety Commission, 3 to 10 seconds. How do you determine how long that interval is?
So usually it's based on and it'll be signal to signal, but a lot of times, like for example, with state signals, the walk time has a maximum too, just if it's running a certain cycle. So usually if it's a state intersection or a city intersection, it'll depend on the location. We'll determine what the actual walk time is already, given the length of the crosswalk, and determine like how much more time is needed just to establish somebody close to the center line of the intersection.
Okay. And are you coordinating with the North Carolina Highway Safety Commission on this? Because I think that they have done some studies and they are trying to figure out how to change the 9,000 stoplights they have across the state.
Yeah, so we actually, I think some of the, not this specific document, we have some other kind of similar documents to this about some of their guidance as well on what they're looking for with LPI timing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alex, are you having to increase the green time since you're losing, I guess, a few seconds for vehicles to be able to turn? Are you having to extend your green time for those lost few seconds for capacity purposes?
I guess there has been a few locations where specifically on coordinated signals, like for example, we implemented LPIs for all the crosswalks throughout Winston-Salem State University. And we did
Uh-huh.
have to make some split adjustments there just to kind of make sure we're properly allocating time for vehicle phases as well once we start to increase time for pedestrian phases.
But
You-
typically,
you-
you probably wouldn't have to do that then. Is that what you're saying, basically?
Yeah, typically only if there's some if they're coordinated signals, we will. But if not, then most time it can just operate as it was before. We don't have to
Yeah.
adjust vehicle phase timing.
Yeah, okay.
You've already adjusted the ones at Winston-Salem State?
Yeah, actually, LPI has been implemented at all the crosswalks in the campus on MLK.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's this past year we've kind of been going to that as a lot of our standard. If we're seeing any issues where like pedestrians not having enough time, or like you said, if we've seen an increase in crash history there with pedestrians, a lot of times we will look to LPI first because it does, like we said before, it improves visibility of pedestrians in the crosswalk and eliminates that uncertainty. If a vehicle doesn't know if a pedestrian is going to cross, they'll typically be well established in the crosswalk before a vehicle gets a green.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can actually, I've got a lot of documentation on this I can share with the group as well. Does anybody else have any more questions?
Oh, is there more to the presentation?
This was kind of it. This is just a kind of the simple rundown of it, but
Okay, because I didn't
yeah.
want to interrupt. How many pedestrian lights do we have in Winston-Salem today?
Oof, that's a great question. I would say close to between probably 325 and 350.
That we're responsible for. They're not the state's.
So a lot of those are this. We are responsible for all the state intersections within city limits.
Oh, you are?
Okay. The maintenance, the timing. No, sometimes they still will have some say about infrastructure upgrades at those intersections. But in terms of implementing leading pedestrian intervals, the state gives us kind of free reign to kind of implement that where we just determine it's warranted.
Okay. And you're probably working on it since this was just approved by the state earlier this year, but do you have an implementation plan? Do you know which ones you're going to focus on first? And
so actually that's kind of part of this conversation. It's something I'm working on right now, is kind of doing more of a massive rollout and implementation citywide of LPI. Starting with the CBD area, we're actually currently retiming and recoordinating every traffic signal in the downtown area. And part of that is to accommodate for volume changes since COVID, the two-way conversion. But one of the factors we're asking them to look for is to implement leading pedestrian intervals for a majority of the intersections in the downtown area.
oh, very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any committee members have anything else? Alex, we appreciate you coming today and sharing this information with us, and it sounds very positive.
Well, thank you all for having me. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you. We appreciate your work.
Thank you. And if you have any more questions or anything about a specific location, feel free to reach out to me, and I can also provide Ben with that documentation. I have a few other kind of things from NCDOT as well, and the FHWA. So yeah, I can share any of that anybody would like to read.
Okay.
This is Dawn. I do have one question.
Yeah.
For those intersections where you can turn right on red and you have the crosswalks, how would this assist with that?
So they should still be yielding to any pedestrians within the crosswalk. And that's part of what leading pedestrian interval kind of does help with as well, is establishing that there is someone currently crossing. And that, I mean, obviously, you would hope most people can kind of look and see that they have a walk indication, but sometimes not everyone turning is always aware of what's going on in the intersection around them. So leading pedestrian interval is hopefully a little more of a visual indication that someone currently is in the crosswalk and they need to be more aware. So yeah, they should be yielding. If anybody's turning right through a crosswalk, they should be yielding to any pedestrians in the crosswalk.
I have a question. So with the leading the time, is there any increase like with the sounds? I know that some crosswalks have like beeping sounds and all, I've heard a variety of things, but
Yeah.
is that something
So
that's-
yeah, definitely. It's a little bit of a separate project, but we are working on some implementation of audible indications at certain locations. Specifically, yeah, actually at Wake Forest and Winston-Salem State, I think both of those have some requests for audible indications to not only the main purpose of audible indication is to notify anybody who may have any issues with visibility, like vision issues. And so, but it also is, like you said, an indication to let other people in the area know that people are probably crossing at this cross section. Yeah, so the equipment to install audible indications throughout the city is a little pricey. We're working on kind of budgeting where it's needed first, and then kind of doing a larger rollout as time goes on as that equipment gets a little more affordable. But yeah, that is on our radar as well. Yeah.
Michael, are you aware of some intersections that may need that?
I mean, I'm sure that I have noticed. I can't think of them right off the top of my head, but yes, I just to your point, I think other people surrounding hear that as well, and it just makes them look up and look around a little bit more.
Absolutely. And typically the way we're handling a lot of audible indication right now is that if someone submits an ADA request, usually we'll put those in if they're requested. Just as of right now, just because of the equipment that's now approved and the price of it, we're typically just putting it where it's requested currently, and then trying to identify other places where it may be needed more than certain other indications. But yeah, if anyone has a request or concerns about a certain intersection, feel free to let us know.
And the volume of the beep be increased?
Yeah, actually, that's a big part of like what the new equipment does. The old audible indications were literally just a speaker that was hardwired into the cabinet, so that anytime the LED lit up, it would also beep. But the new indications, they're actually a programmable controller board inside the push button itself that actually is programmed through Bluetooth, an app. Actually, and there's also a user version of the app that people who can use their cell phone to activate the app before they get to the push button. So that's kind of, it's sort of what the standard is going forward now with audible indications based on just ADA requirements. Because I guess there's certain applications that for anyone that does have vision impairment, they use their phone with it's more of, I guess, an audible application on their phone too that tells them how close they are to the push button, and then activates it so they don't have to touch it. So it's, yeah, that's kind of what the standard has become. And so like you said, it's all now housed inside the push button module itself. And so if you see some of the new ones around town, they're going to be a larger kind of, the push buttons we have that are audible will be a large block kind of strapped to the Type 2 pedestal or the pole.
The reason I ask that is my son is visually impaired, and he works or goes out to the Industries for the Blind out off of North Point Boulevard, and I know at that intersection with Bethabara Road that there's the indicators there, but the times I've been out there, I've rolled down the window to try to hear it, and it's honestly it's just a little bit on the weak side.
Okay.
So I know there's people that are visually impaired that live nearby that walk to and from their jobs there at the Industries for the Blind, and the volume of traffic makes it challenging a little bit for people to hear. So I would encourage you to maybe you and your staff to go out there and take a listen to it, and if there's a way of increasing the volume on that, I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, I definitely I know that one actually is one of the programmable audible push buttons. So yeah, I'll get with our staff to go out there and just make sure to see what it's set at currently, and if it to maybe increase that volume a little bit for you.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
No problem.
And I know that they also have I did the American Tobacco Trail last year, and there was one intersection, and it was even more than just beeps. It was like, I can't even remember what it said, but it was like very loud verbiage saying at the crossing. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a variety of things out there, but.
Yeah, that's actually some of the new modules. We actually did put in a pretty big order a couple weeks ago, and some of the new modules we've ordered, they have verbal indications. You can program to say specific street names or directions. Yeah.
Technology
yeah,
is
absolutely.
amazing.
And I mean, I think, this will definitely be an improvement to where they've also programmed to say, like, for example, if it's going to say certain things, it'll make different noises at different times of day. Or like it may be like, let's say if it's downtown somewhere, maybe it's really loud, a certain volume during the daytime, but like late at night, maybe it'll kind of like the volume will adjust itself if it is near residences. So I think the current module we just bought from Polera, I think those are kind of going to be the industry standard a lot of DOTs are going to go with in the future. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Everybody.
Yeah.
All right, we do have quorum now. Yay. So let's back up to the minutes. We asked earlier, thinking that we might not get quorum today, if there were any additions or corrections or edits to the minutes. So Michael or Brandon, do you know, or did you see anything as you reviewed those? All right.
I did.
Not finding any edits or corrections needed, do I have approval? Say aye.
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 Any nays? All right, very good. Moving on, we're moving to the information item section. However, Mason has not joined us yet. I think he has a meeting that runs through 9 o'clock, so he would join us right after that. So we'll move on to the discussion of the routes connecting to the Long Branch Trail. The strollway to the Long Branch Trail, I apologize. So this was a conversation we started last month, and we ran out of time. And we had a few questions, and we're leaving it open for people to go out and just check it out, the different routes that we had mentioned in the meeting. And we can review those again real quick if you need to. But I was hoping that maybe everybody did have a chance to try to move from the north end of the strollway over to the Long Branch Trail on those different avenues. And maybe today we can provide a ranking of what we like, so that we can carry that to the DOT for their further review and discussion. This was a request that was brought to me by Jeff Fansler for us to investigate and provide some feedback. So one of the routes that we had suggested the last time, I'll start with it. The strollway ends, the strollway connection would be at First Street. So that's right there by Corpening Plaza. And from First Street, it would go all the way over to Innovation Quarter. Or no, I'm sorry. It would go to Salem Avenue, the street before Salem Avenue. I think it's North Patterson Street. And it would turn left on North Patterson Street, which is like I'll call it a back alley. That's the way I feel it. That's what I feel like it is when I'm walking back there, because that's where people park that work or live in that area. So it travels along kind of that back alley, North Patterson Avenue, over to 3rd Street. It turns right, and then it goes down to Fogle Street, which is one of the entrances to the Long Branch Trail. Greg also mentioned that there is some investigation, and I think Ben had echoed this as well. There has been some investigation by the DOT to possibly at First Street and Salem Avenue to have a bridge. This would be very expensive though, but the bridge would stretch from Salem Avenue kind of over the railroad tracks to the Long Branch Trail. So that's another possible alternative, very expensive to do and probably would take a lot longer to accomplish because of the funding and engineering that would be required for that. So in the meantime, it could be the North Patterson route to Fogle and the bridge be added later. Anyway, that's one route. The other route.
Carol, sorry to interrupt. Do you want me to share my screen so people can have a better view? I have the map pulled up.
Yeah, that would be, yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. I'll pause.
All right, can everybody see that? Great. All right, go ahead, Carol.
Okay. You might have to run your cursor along the lines when I talk about this. So do you want to run your cursor on where the strollway is right now?
Yeah, so it ends here at 2nd Street
at
the moment.
Yeah, so the next two actually would extend the trail up to 3rd Street in front of Callidium. And option B was from Callidium to turn right on 3rd Street and take 3rd Street all the way to Fogle Street, where you could then enter the Long Branch Trail at one of the trailheads. So that's a very straight shot, no turns, well, 2 turns, but the fewest turns of the options available today, and probably the least expensive. I'm not trying to sway you. These are kinds of pros and cons. 3rd Street, except in front of the Callidium area, is fairly wide. So we could probably have a protected cycle track all the way through there down to Fogle Street. Option C actually had 2 alternatives. So option C, last time we talked about starting at, again, 3rd Street, going over 1 block to either Liberty or to Main Street, which would be 2 blocks. And it would depend on which is wider, Liberty or Main, because then you could carry Liberty or Main up to 5th Street. I think we had Donna and I had listed the option of Main Street, but then Liberty was part of what we discussed last time. And then from 5th Street, you would turn right and go to, I believe it is North Patterson. And at North Patterson, you could either go, is it North Patterson? No, it would be the next one over, right? It's the one that runs next to Bailey Park. So you could turn right and go straight down to where Patterson turns into Fogle and pick up the trailhead there. Or you could turn north and go up to 7th Street, which is where another trailhead is. It adds a few more hills doing that, but 5th Street is wide and could accommodate a protected cycle track, I believe, all the way to Patterson. Patterson is not very wide, though, which could create difficulties going north and south to pick up either 7th or Fogle. So those are the options. I'll open it up now for discussion. Any thoughts? Did you all have a chance to get out there and take a look at it? And what were your feelings as you kind of surveyed the situation and walked or rode those on a bike?
Carol, I rode it and I favored the 3rd Street option.
Okay.
The straight shot or the straighter shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, on 5th Street, I do have to say there's a lot of buses going through there, and that can probably be real intimidating for people who aren't used to riding in downtowns.
Oh, great observation, Ryan. Thank you.
I've driven on Patterson Street a lot when my son was at daycare at 7th Street, and going up that way towards MLK to that trailhead. I know with the apartments there, there's always like delivery trucks and things like that that kind of block that road a little bit. So that makes it difficult. So I would probably go with the Third Street as well.
Okay. And when I lean over, I'm making notes. Sorry. I have to make notes because the memory doesn't hold it all. Anyone else have any comments? Anyone else have a chance to go out and walk it or ride it or?
I was gonna say a follow-up from our last discussion. This is Greg. We talked about, connectivity to East Winston.
Mhm.
And it's my opinion that if we don't extend First Street across to the strollway there, that Third Street would probably be the better option as it heads east over to the East Winston community. The East Third Street there is a fairly wide street. I think it's 4 lanes, 2 lanes, and then a lot of times people will park on that. So you have an opportunity to probably restripe it and create a bike lane there in front of the new housing developments there. So I think there's too much capacity for the amount of traffic that's through there. I think that would be an easy conversion. So I'm just saying that as we think about this, we need to think about how it matches with our overall bicycle plan and pedestrian plans and the connectivity to East Winston-Salem. So that's my primary comment.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up again. I had read my notes yesterday and forgot to mention that, and actually had spent some time this last month trying to look through the bike plan, but ran out of time to really dig into it. But yes, I do believe you're right there, Greg. It would provide a great connectivity to East Winston. And as Ben mentioned, I think in our last meeting, it would also allow us to connect to some of the other trails that are in East Winston as well, if we carry that to the east.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I think that probably makes probably the most sense as far as connectivity east and west is probably on Third Street. So
I like it. I like everything that everyone said, and that was Donna's first option when she and I went out for our walk. So Donna, do you have anything you want to add today?
No, I went for a walk on Saturday, and Third Street I still feel that that would be the one that I would lean towards the most for
Okay.
ease and convenience for those who would be connecting to the 2 trails.
Very good.
I guess one comment about Third Street is that it's one way for about 2 blocks there I think it's from Main over to Town Run Lane or so. That would, it doesn't show up right there, but we probably would want to have that, I guess, converted unless we're going to have people riding on the sidewalk. So I guess that would be just a consideration of how we would route on Third Street is either in the street or on the sidewalk, I guess. But since it's a one-way street, we probably would want to have it, I guess, converted to a 2-way movement through there if we're going to have two-way bicycling and pedestrian movements, or particularly bicycling, I should say. But just something to think about. That's the only other little segment in the downtown area that's not really been thought of as far as a conversion to 2-way movements. So
That's a good thought, Greg. Thank you. Ben, I know that you have looked at some of these as well. What are your thoughts along the Town Run Lane?
Yeah, we've talked about doing like a wider kind of side path along one Town Run lane and making it maybe a one one-lane road. So there was some sidewalk improvements as part of the, well, it won't show up now, as part of the Caladium building. But the idea is to extend the strollway north to 2nd Street to 3rd Street. And then after that, you know, possibly do something on 3rd or look at other options there. I think 3rd Street makes a lot of sense for some kind of cycle track. However, that corner will be the toughest part just because there isn't as much street width there. And I know the Children's Museum has some like bus drop-offs that they do for kids, so that might come into play. That's kind of, you know, we just kind of looked at Town Run Lane in very early stages, so it's not really fleshed out fully.
Okay. All right. So it's, this is not a formal proposal to the Department of Transportation. This is our committee's recommendation. So would someone like to maybe state what they've heard? And now let me back up for a second. So I think overwhelmingly the committee likes the 3rd Street option the best. Is that correct? Any opposed? All right. If we were to rank these, let's talk about option 2 and 3. So option 2 would be utilizing 1st Street and going over to North Patterson. And I'm not putting the bridge into the equation right now. Going to North Patterson and then north to 3rd Street and pick up Focal Lane there. The 3rd option would be 3rd Street up to 5th Street, either by Liberty or Main. And then taking that over to Patterson and then going south or north to one of the other 2 trailheads. So of those 2 options, which do you like?
I'll just say, I'll chime in here, that the 3rd option's, that's gonna be pretty tough, I think, with especially with Patterson, you know, it being just a 2-lane road right now, and I think that one's gonna be a little more tricky to achieve, and it's also a little more indirect.
Okay.
So that's kind of my 2 cents there.
Should we remove the 3rd option from the list and just make it 2 options? And our
I think that would
preference
make
is,
sense to me.
okay. Any members of the committee like to chime in?
I was just gonna say, I agree with what Benjamin just said, just narrow it down to those 2 options.
Okay. All right.
I will say that I'm still in favor of the 1st Street option over to Patterson. 1st Street, they've already widened the sidewalk from Town Run Lane or from the end of the strollway over to Liberty Street. They've done some sidewalk improvements through there. There's like a wide paved path right in front of the lawyer's building there, that white building that you see on the screen there. And then 1st Street from Main Street over is basically a divided street, a landscaped divided street. So you have some division there and a little bit less conflict with vehicles, in my opinion. And then Patterson Avenue behind the buildings is a very low volume street. And even if it feels like an alley, it still is a public street. It's just a very, very low volume street because it provides access to some parking, I think, in the back there, but it is not really heavily used for through traffic movements. Very few people even think about that for traffic movements. So I guess I'm, as far as priorities go, I would still recommend 1st Street over to Patterson and then Patterson up to Third, and then bending back like that. I think that will be an easier option to actually implement than building some sort of cycle track or something like that on Third Street. I like Third Street too. Don't get me wrong. I like that one as well, but I think First Street would be the easier option to actually implement if we're really serious about implementing this. So that's just my 2 cents on that. And it also provides a connection to Salem Avenue, which has bicycle lanes going down the hill there. So as far as connectivity goes, I think to me that makes the most sense. But
I'll just kind of reiterate what Greg's saying. While I think that Third Street is I think it presents our city. I think it's a great visible for everything. The only issue I think is the right there in front of Caladium, because technically we're not supposed to ride bikes on the sidewalk in downtown
right.
Winston-Salem, and it's going opposite. They've got, Caladium's got that infrastructure in place for the parking, has been mentioned. So it could be a little bit challenging to get something reconfigured there. The First Street, exactly what he's saying. I would say that's probably one of the most low volume streets around. And then Patterson Avenue, if there could just make sure that there's, plenty of lights and features added to make it more aesthetically pleasing. That way it doesn't feel like an alley. I think it could be ideal and probably the best route, because it is out of the way. And if your goal is to gain access to the trail and be on a trail, then I would feel like that would feel way more like a trail situation than going through downtown. But if you're trying to access downtown and actually some commerce and stuff like that, the other routes might be better. But if you're trying to stick strictly to a trail, then I would think that the First Street would be the best option.
I would like to, first of all, good morning everyone, because I was late. I would like to chime in the fact that I agree with all the suggestions, and if we would just keep in mind too to look at that area as it's projected to be and not as it is, because there are a lot of housing and industry that's coming through there where they're trying to accommodate, people coming in for the research center and then the optometry surgical center that's being built down there. So they're really trying to build those areas up to accommodate, I guess, a more, urban downtown area where everything is going to be accessible via walking. So if we keep that in mind too, and make suggestions based on where it's going and like exactly where it is.
I'll throw out another point, comparing the two. On the Third Street option, that's more centrally located in the city where more people are walking about, and they would see that as a way to get to the Long Branch. The First Street, it's my perception, there's less foot traffic, especially from people out of town down there. But
is there any reason why we can't say promote one route for cycling and one route for walking?
I think that would be kind of wise, because that way walkers won't be in the way of the bikers and vice versa.
I'm just thinking. Yeah, I think exactly what he's saying is about the people seeing it. The visibility downtown is going to be much greater for pedestrians.
From a pedestrian standpoint, I prefer the town run lane, Third Street option than the back alley.
Right.
And I have walked that back alley and I'm going to call it that. I've walked that back alley many times, especially when I used to work downtown, because from where I worked, it was a quick access over to the Long Branch Trail. But if I'm coming up the strollway, I think I, as a pedestrian, would prefer to go straight up Town Run Lane. As a pedestrian, I feel uncomfortable on the back alley, unless I'm with someone. So those are my feelings about that area. And I don't know that North Patterson Avenue through there is ever going to get that much improved with the utility area that is there, and the railroad track just on the other side of the tree line. So from a beautification standpoint, it's not very pretty back there. And as a pedestrian, I don't feel real safe. So Michael, to your point, could there be two routes? Ben, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess my thought is, it's already a sidewalk network for the most part, on 3rd Street or not as much on Patterson. But I guess I lean towards thinking about more of the bicyclists because there already is sidewalk in a lot of these routes. Obviously, that sidewalk maybe doesn't work well for people jogging or larger groups. There could be sidewalk improvements as part of that, but I tend to just, I guess, look at it more for wheeled users as like an easier lift, maybe.
That's
Yeah.
really kind of where I'm coming from, is that, you have sidewalks on virtually both sides of all the streets in downtown. So your ability to get over to East or 3rd Street and then accessing the trail over there, you have, multiple options of getting over there from the end of the strollway. So you have lots of options. I like the pedestrian option going up to 3rd Street and then using 3rd over to I guess you would call it Fogle Street over there. I think Michael's point is well taken, is that keep that as a sort of a spur into downtown, and then the connection over to the Long Branch Trail that way. But for the people that are on bicycles or other wheeled vehicles, that I think 1st Street offers the best opportunity for two-way movements over to Patterson Avenue. And, Patterson is not pretty. I think Carol's exactly right. It has sort of a lonely industrial sort of a feel to it, a backside of the building. But it doesn't mean that it can't be, add some lights and some signage and, maybe just a tiny bit of landscaping through there to make it feel just a bit more user-friendly, I guess. But I think as far as safety of people riding their bikes, Patterson Avenue certainly offers that, I think, better than any of the other options right now.
I would agree. I love the option of 2, and I'm glad you thought about that, Mike, because I'm more of a walker versus a biker. So the 3rd Street option works so nicely for walking because you do get to stop and take a look at some things. You can see the music, you can see the beauty of our city on foot. And I think it is important to integrate the commerce, because when we have visitors come into our city, we do want them to see all the things that it offers. And when you're on foot, you have a chance to stop and kind of take part. For a biker, really, you're trying to get somewhere. And I love the option of I don't think that it would feel too uncomfortable going behind that building, because you're only going to be there for a split second because you're rolling through. So I really do like having the 2 options for walkers versus bikers, and that does take into consideration all of our constituents. The other thing is, I was thinking about, even when we were doing the walk, because we're also active mobility, and thinking about people who are in mobile devices that need to get around, who are a little differently abled. So when we think about that population, what options are we thinking about them? Third Street could work, but I don't know whether there has to be something special in place or like, just really thinking about that population. What are some considerations for people that are in mobile chairs? And I don't know that I have that baked up in my head, but I'm thinking that is also a population that we need to consider.
Agreed. Thank you, Donna. All right. Interesting. So committee is just hearing those that have spoken up, kind of split on the two options, but maybe some favor to actually proposing both routes, one for cycling and one for pedestrian. Be interesting how to. I think I have a challenge on how to write this up. Do we want to take a proposal for both to the city and propose it as one being a pedestrian and one being a cycling route?
I say yes.
Okay.
I mean, the reality is both routes could be used by both populations. It's just that one is more favorable towards the other. So why not give them, this is the proposal.
Okay. Anyone else with thoughts or comments?
I support what Donna said.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
I
just
agree.
Thinking it through would just require a little bit additional signage, I think.
Is
Mhm.
download PDF going to give it to me so that it?
All right, very good. All right, I'll work on a write-up and present that to you all next month, and we can try to provide some edits and then get that off to the city. In the meantime, Ben, you kind of know the direction we want to go. So if anybody asks any questions, where are we on this? You can share that with them. Well, thank you. This was great conversation. I really appreciate it. Has Mason joined? I'm having a hard time trying to figure out who is actually on and who's not.
He has not, and I actually have to leave a little before 10 today.
Yeah, yeah,
so
you
that
told
might
me.
be something that we might not get to, unfortunately, unless he hops on here real quick.
Yeah, let me take a look. Since he's not here, I will tell the committee real quickly that feedback, and Greg or John, you can jump in as well, but feedback on the Old Salem pedestrian bicycle friendly district has been, from my perspective, all positive. There really is not much negative. We've had surveys completed, and that's what I was going to have Mason share with you all today. But we've been out to a lot of businesses. We've been to homeowners associations, and we've got a lot of signatures already. Our goal is to have all the visitation done by the end of September. I may not make that. It may be a little bit into October before I finish, but I'm pretty close to being finished. But anyway, we'll have more on that in our October meeting for you. So just wanted to let you know that feedback has been positive. So we'll probably be moving forward by the end of the year for a recommendation to declare that a pedestrian bicycle friendly district in our city. So that's exciting. Piedmont Legacy Trails Outstanding Trail Project Legacy Award for Winston-Salem. In 2023, and I think it was maybe March or April, the city was awarded a hiking stick for our legacy, for our trail system within Winston-Salem. Donna, Matthew, myself, Michael, were in attendance at that meeting. It was a summit put on by the Piedmont Legacy Trails. They give 5 awards every year, and we were one of the recipients in 2023. We brought the stick back, the hiking stick back. The award is a hiking stick, and we brought it back to Winston, and it's been housed at Donna's house for over a year now. And it's time to give it to the city so that they can display it probably in one of the rec centers, because really the rec centers, the recreation and parks department is responsible for the maintenance of the trails and the activities that happen on the trails. So we believe that displaying it in a rec center is a great place for the hiking stick to reside, so that people, citizens, can see into the future that we were awarded, received an award for our trails. There are a couple of options, and we'd like to propose those to the committee and open this up for discussion as well. There are a couple of options where we think that the stick could reside and get good visibility. One would be the Salem Lake Marina, because they have a lot of people coming there all the time. Because when we present it to Recreation and Park, we'd like to have a recommendation of where it might be displayed. The other is, and Ben, you're going to have to help me again, Long Creek.
Little Creek Recreation Center, so it's
Little Creek.
right by Little Creek Greenway.
So let me open it up for discussion, thoughts on places where it could be displayed in the community that would receive high visibility, also be connected to a trail.
I'm going to go ahead and just put my vote in for the marina. I mean, I think that's probably to me, Salem Lake is the gem of the city, and it really kind of goes with the motif in the marina. I don't know if you guys have been there, but they got a bunch of taxidermied animals and just kind of a outdoor scene and everything. I think it would be perfect for there, and that's my vote.
Okay. I see a lot of head nods.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I
that's
would
what I'd
vote for Salem Lake as well.
Yeah, I said, yeah, as well. I think that's,
And Donna, do you want to add anything?
no, I just think there should be some type of signage around it, put it in a case or something, but so that it is on display, kind of making sure everyone knows it was an award that was given.
Okay.
I've not seen the stick. Is it just a stick, or does it have a base to it, or is it something that's set up for display, let's say?
No, it's a walking stick.
Okay.
Handmade wooden walking stick. So it does not, it's not in a case or anything. It's just literally a handmade walking stick.
I just wondering if, how it would be displayed, I guess is my question. Does it should it be attached to a base to it and with a little sign or something that demonstrates what it is or denotes what it is?
Quite frankly, I would think it would, just thinking out loud, it would probably need to be in some type of glass case so it won't be picked up or touched and escorted out of the building. So I think it would need to be secured somehow. And I'm thinking a display case with a sign.
Right.
My idea for it's kind of far-fetched, but if you had like a cardboard printout of a city official or somebody, William Royalston, and holding the stick, and then like a push button that says this stick was donated for 2023.
Well, that's
kind of
cool.
like at a museum
That
or
would
something.
be cool.
I like that idea. I think one of a full-size Carol would be good. Or
No,
we ought to
no,
have
no,
our
no.
chairman, be the picture of Carol holding the stick. I like that idea, Mike. Good thinking.
I like William Royston better.
That's cute.
Oh. All
Oh,
right.
we have the
so-
mayor. Maybe I have the mayor doing it. So
So our first choice is Salem Lake Marina. Is that it? Everyone in favor of that? All right. Anyone opposed? Okay. Ben, I don't have any idea how to check into plaques or cases and
Yeah, I can definitely assist with that and work with Rec and Parks on that. Might be best to, like, give it to me and let me kind of see what would work for it, and
Okay.
then see if they have an existing case that it could go in, or just see what would work best. So
okay.
And my other idea of how to present it or put it up, kind of like a guitar stand, something that just holds it vertical.
yeah,
That
mhm.
has like a base and maybe it just goes and like circles around somewhere higher up on the stick, versus being encapsulated in glass or something like that. That could be another.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was thinking too. Maybe some kind of bracket or hook on the wall or something to hold it. So
Yeah.
we'll see what we can do.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, definitely something to secure it so that
Yes.
it will
Yes.
remain at the marina.
So it doesn't have
Good
any
point.
legs to it.
All right. Any other discussion on that topic? All right, so we're going to recommend the Salem Lake Marina. Donna, can you get the hiking stick to Ben?
Yes, I will. Let's see, tomorrow. I can do it next week. I can get it to him next week.
Okay,
I'm out of
Ben, I
town
can-
next week, Donna, but I'll coordinate with you on
Oh,
when
yeah,
we can
yeah.
get together, and I can
Yeah,
meet you somewhere too if that works best for you. So we'll
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
actually would be better. So, and I'm downtown usually on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if one of those days works for you, I can just swing by and drop it off.
Okay, perfect.
Does our
Um,
committee have a website? Do we have a separate website at all or part of the city's website, overall website?
for our committee, there is a page, just like all the other committees that are out there. And my understanding is trying to change or alter or adjust that page is not the easiest thing in the world.
I think it'd be, for the walking stick, I think it'd be nice to have a little blurb on it, somewhere on our website or a page that's part of our committee. We ought to have some publicity go with the award, I guess, so.
Donna has mentioned that as well. All right. Ben, when you're talking to them about displaying, can you talk to them about some sort of a possible ceremony or something like that as well?
Yeah, I can explore that a little bit. Maybe a social media post. What is that?
I don't know.
So that
Could
could
it even
work,
be a
or-
presentation to William at one of the city council meetings? I know we're over a year past when it was given to us, but
I'll give that some thought.
okay. All right, Ben does have to leave at 9:45. Just real quick, I'm going to mention, and Ben can talk about this more next month, or actually, I think we'll have Ridwana with us next month to talk about the Safe Streets for All grant, which I am very excited. That was a recommendation our committee made to the Department of Transportation earlier this year. I know it's hard to keep up with everything we've done this year because we have accomplished quite a bit, but we recommended that they apply for that. In March, it was approved by the city council to move forward with the application. And we just received word this last week that we will be receiving $280,000 for a comprehensive safety plan for our city. So Congratulations, everyone. Thank you for your work on that earlier this year. And I'm very excited to make that announcement. And we'll hear more about that next month from Ridwana. Right, Ben?
That's right.
Yep, very good. Thank you. Let's see.
Nice job.
Yeah, it is great stuff. I'm very excited. Real quick, Michael, do you want to talk, just bring some attention to the consent agenda on the, was it the Safe Routes to School?
Yeah, so we've, the Safe Routes to School program with the elementary schools is underway. We're on our second rotation with the schools. And typically we partner with the Cycling Center partners as a member of the Safe Kids Coalition. We offer a bike and pedestrian safety presentation to the schools. And we just, a lot of times we, if we have the helmets, we'll present properly fitted helmets to 4th and 5th graders. And we just, there's just a handful of folks on that committee that does that work. And we're always looking for some more like-minded folks to go into the schools and help present the bike and pedestrian safety and do the helmets. So yeah, if there's anybody interested, or if you guys know of anybody interested in kind of getting plugged into those avenues, to those presentations, we'd love some additional support. Right now we kind of just coordinate with the PE teachers and the admin, just kind of what works on their end. And then we kind of go back to our group and see what works on our end. And typically it's obviously during the weekday, during school hours, but they typically last about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on how many students.
Hey, Michael, I'm not sure if I introduced myself when you were on. I'd like to join up on that if you want to add me on Facebook, and we can talk about it off of here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me,
Ryan,
how can I get your?
Yeah, can you provide your email address?
Ryan Gussman.
Brian, if you could put it in the chat, that might be easiest.
Sorry, I don't do these too often. I'm the dorky on-site e-bike guy, so I never am in the Teams meetings.
Cool. I'll pull it out of there, Ryan, and I'll reach out to you. We can talk further about that.
Yeah. We have a few mutuals. I looked you up, Jake and a few other guys.
Cool.
Sorry about that.
All right. Oh, this was fast. Reminder tomorrow night, several of us are participating in helping out with the Great Trails State Conference event activities. Try to be there around 5:15 if you will, at the Benton Convention Center. I've been watching the app to see who has signed up. We don't have a lot of people signing up yet, but they're going to advertise those events a little bit more during the convention today and tomorrow. So I have a feeling that those names will start increasing. So John is going to lead a bike ride for us, 6.7 miles. Great route. Brandon and Jeff Fansler are going to lead a run in the city for us. And it's 4.4 something miles, I think. And then, say again?
Right around 4 miles.
Yeah. And then Donna, myself, and Ben are leading a walk down the strollway across the Old Salem Bridge, and then back up to the Benton Convention Center, about 3 miles. So we look forward to sharing our beautiful city with the convention attendees. Again, 5:15, front of the Benton Convention Center, all activities start. And Ben, I saw that HDR is actually leading a walk over to the pedestrian bridge, the Green Street pedestrian bridge at that same time.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't remember what time it is now. I think that's more of a session that you have to sign up for during the conference more.
That's not the way it's showing up on the app, so I thought I'd ask
really?
you
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know they're going to be looking at the Strollway Bridge and then the Green Street pedestrian bridge. So
Okay. if you need to switch over to that, I know Donna and I can probably handle the walkers. So.
Okay, I should be good, but I'll let you know. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. 9:44. Ben needs to go. Any other comments, questions from the committee? Thank you for your conversation on the connecting strollway to Long Branch Trail. Y'all are a great committee to work with. I so appreciate all of you, and have a great month. I'll see you in October, if not before, maybe tomorrow night.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
one, everybody.